It was a Monday morning in the city of Ashland, and the courthouse steps glistened with dew. Judge Rowan Pierce, a black woman in her early 40s, walked up those steps with a quiet confidence. She wore a simple gray suit, her hair in tight curls, and carried a battered leather briefcase. Rowan was known for her fairness, her sharp mind, and her ability to see through the masks people wore. Rowan never entered the courthouse in her robe. She believed in walking among the people, blending in, listening to the city's heartbeat. That morning, she stopped to help a young mother struggling with a stroller, her kindness unnoticed by most, but not by everyone. Officer Brent Mallory, a veteran cop with a reputation for keeping order, watched from his patrol car. He'd seen Rowan before, but never recognized her as anyone important. To him, she was just another black woman in a city that was changing too fast for his liking. Inside the courthouse lobby, the security line was long. Rowan waited patiently, scrolling through her phone. When it was her turn, she placed her bag on the conveyor and stepped through the metal detector. It beeped. Mallory, now inside, approached with a swagger. "Step aside, ma'am," he said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Rowan complied, her face calm. "Is there a problem, officer?" Mallory didn't answer. He patted her down roughly, ignoring her credentials. "You people always think you're above the rules," he muttered. Rowan's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. The crowd watched, some with sympathy, others with indifference. Mallory found nothing, but he wasn't finished. "Open your bag," he barked. Rowan did. He rifled through her papers, scattering them on the floor. When she bent to pick them up, he slapped her hard across the face. The sound echoed. Gasps filled the lobby. Rowan straightened slowly, her cheek burning, her eyes steady. 4 minutes later, the world began to shift. A young intern, Jamie Lynn, had filmed the entire encounter on her phone. She uploaded the video to social media with the caption, "This is how Ashland PD treats black women in our courthouse." Within minutes, the video went viral. News outlets picked it up. The mayor's office called for an immediate investigation. Rowan didn't flinch. She gathered her papers, thanked Jamie with a nod, and walked to her chambers. She closed the door, took a deep breath, and let the tears fall. Just for a moment. Then she wiped her face, put on her robe, and prepared for court. She knew what she had to do. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, activists, and city officials filled every seat. Rowan entered, her head held high, her cheek still red. She took her seat behind the bench. "Court is now in session," she announced, her voice unwavering. The first case was, ironically, a hearing on police misconduct. Mallory sat at the defense table, flanked by his union lawyer. He looked smug, certain that nothing would touch him. After all, he'd gotten away with worse. But today was different. Today, the city was watching. Rowan listened to the testimony, her questions sharp and fair. She didn't mention the morning's events. She didn't need to. The jury saw the video. They saw the fear, the humiliation, the abuse of power. They saw a judge who refused to be broken. After court, Rowan met with the chief of police and the mayor. "This isn't just about me," she said. "It's about a culture that allows this to happen." The mayor nodded, promising reforms. The chief looked away, shame flickering in his eyes. Mallory was suspended pending investigation. But the story didn't end there. The video sparked protests across Ashland. People marched for justice, for dignity, for change. Rowan spoke at rallies, her words measured but powerful. "We are not powerless," she told the crowd. "We are not invisible. We will not be silenced." As the days passed, more stories surfaced. Other women, other men came forward with their own tales of abuse at Mallory's hands. The city launched a full review of the police department. Officers who had covered for Mallory were put on leave. The empire of silence and fear began to crumble. Rowan's life changed too. She received threats, but also letters of support. She leaned on her family, her friends, and her faith. She mentored young lawyers, teaching them to fight for justice with courage and compassion. She refused to let bitterness take root. Mallory's trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury found him guilty of assault, abuse of power, and civil rights violations. Rowan delivered the sentence herself. "You used your badge to hurt, to humiliate, to divide. Today, you are held accountable, not just for what you did to me, but for what you did to this city." Mallory's conviction sent shockwaves through Ashland. For years, he'd been protected by a network of silence. Supervisors who looked the other way, colleagues who laughed off his cruelty, a union that shielded him from consequences. Now, that network was unraveling. The city council called emergency meetings. The police chief resigned. Internal affairs opened dozens of old cases, and the public demanded answers. Rowan's courtroom became a symbol of hope and reckoning. Each day, people lined up outside, some to support her, others to see if real change was possible. Rowan presided with the same calm authority she always had, but now her presence carried new weight. She listened to every case, every story, with a deeper empathy. She saw the hidden struggles in the faces before her: fear, exhaustion, hope. One afternoon, a young man named Marcus took the stand. He'd been arrested by Mallory the year before, accused of resisting arrest. The charges had ruined his college prospects. Rowan listened as Marcus described the night he was pulled from his car, beaten, and left in a cell for hours. "I thought no one would ever believe me," he said, voice trembling. "But then I saw your video. I knew I wasn't alone." Rowan's eyes softened. "You're not alone, Marcus. Not anymore." She dismissed the charges, her ruling a quiet act of justice. The gallery erupted in applause. For the first time in years, Marcus smiled. Outside the courthouse, he hugged his mother, tears streaming down both their faces. The city's transformation was not easy. There were protests, counter-protests, heated debates on talk radio and social media. Some officers resisted the changes, clinging to the old ways. But others stepped forward, determined to rebuild trust. Officer Lila Torres, the young guard who had watched Rowan's assault in silence, requested a meeting with the judge. In Rowan's chambers, Torres confessed her shame. "I should have stopped him. I was scared." Rowan listened, then placed a hand on Torres's shoulder. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing, even when you're afraid. You have a choice now. Use your voice." Torres nodded, tears in her eyes. She later testified against Mallory, her words helping to convict him. As the weeks passed, Rowan's influence grew. She was invited to speak at universities, churches, and community centers. She told her story not as a victim, but as a survivor. "Justice isn't just a verdict," she said. "It's a process. It's the work we do every day to make our world more fair, more kind, more human." The police department underwent sweeping reforms. New leadership prioritized transparency and accountability. Officers received training in de-escalation, bias, and community engagement. A civilian oversight board was established, with Rowan as an advisor. Slowly, trust began to return. But the scars remained. Rowan still received hate mail. She still felt the sting of that slap, the humiliation of being treated as less than human. Some nights she woke from nightmares, her heart pounding. But she refused to let fear define her. She found strength in her family, her faith, and the community that had rallied around her. One evening, after a long day in court, Rowan walked home through the city. She passed murals painted in her honor, images of her standing tall, her hand raised in a gesture of peace. Children waved as she passed. An elderly woman pressed a note into her hand. "Thank you for giving us hope." Rowan smiled, her heart full. She knew the work was far from over, but she also knew that change was possible, that justice could prevail, and that even the smallest act of courage could bring down an empire built on fear. As the months passed, Ashland's transformation deepened. The city's wounds were still raw, but healing had begun. Rowan's courtroom became a place where people believed their voices would be heard. She made it a point to greet everyone who entered, from janitors to attorneys, with the same respect. Her humility and strength inspired others to act with more kindness and courage. One day, a group of high school students visited the courthouse for a civics project. Rowan welcomed them into her chambers, answering their questions with patience and candor. One student, a shy girl named Tessa, asked, "How did you keep going after what happened?" Rowan smiled gently. "I remembered who I was before that moment, and I decided not to let anyone else define me." Tessa nodded, her eyes shining. "I want to be a judge someday." Rowan squeezed her hand. "You can, and you'll be even better than me." The students left inspired, their teacher thanking Rowan for her honesty. That afternoon, Rowan reflected on how far she'd come, from the humiliation in the lobby to the respect she now commanded. Meanwhile, the city's new police chief, Maria Alvarez, reached out to Rowan for guidance. Alvarez was determined to change the department's culture. She invited Rowan to lead workshops on justice and empathy for new recruits. Rowan agreed, knowing that real change started with education and honest conversation. The workshops were intense. Some officers bristled at Rowan's presence, but most listened. She shared her story, not to shame them, but to show the cost of silence and complicity. "You have the power to protect or to harm," she told them. "Choose wisely. The badge is not a shield for your ego. It's a promise to serve." Officer Torres, now promoted to sergeant, became a leader in the department's reform efforts. She worked closely with Rowan, helping to bridge the gap between police and the community. Together, they organized town halls, where residents could voice their concerns and ask questions. The meetings were sometimes tense, but always honest. Rowan's family remained her anchor. Her partner, David, was her confidant and supporter. Her mother, once fearful for Rowan's safety, now beamed with pride. "You're changing the world, baby," she said one evening over dinner. Rowan laughed. "One case at a time, Mama." But not everyone was happy with the changes. A small but vocal group of Mallory's supporters protested outside the courthouse, waving signs and shouting insults. Rowan refused to be intimidated. She walked past them every morning, her head high, her heart steady. She knew that progress always met resistance. One night, Rowan received a threatening letter at her home. For a moment, fear crept in, but she remembered the faces of those she'd helped, the students, the families, the survivors. She reported the threat, then returned to her work with renewed determination. "They can't scare me back into silence," she told David. "Not now, not ever." The seasons changed, and with them, so did Ashland. The city's annual Unity Festival was approaching, and for the first time, the courthouse would host a public forum on justice and reconciliation. Rowan was asked to give the keynote address. She hesitated at first, wary of the spotlight, but knew her story could help others find their own courage. On the day of the festival, the courthouse lawn was filled with families, food trucks, and music. Community leaders, police officers, and activists mingled, sharing stories and laughter. When Rowan took the stage, the crowd fell silent. She looked out at the faces, some familiar, some skeptical, all waiting. She spoke of her journey, not as a tale of victimhood, but as a testament to resilience. "We all have moments when we are brought low," she said, "but we also have the power to rise. Justice is not a destination. It's a practice. It's the way we treat each other, every day." Her words resonated, and when she finished, the applause was thunderous. After her speech, Rowan was approached by a woman in her 60s, tears in her eyes. "I watched what happened to you," she said. "I never thought I'd see the day when someone stood up to them and won." Rowan hugged her, feeling the weight of generations in that embrace. "We stand together now," she whispered. The festival marked a turning point. The city council passed new ordinances to protect citizens from police abuse. The oversight board gained more authority, and Rowan was appointed as its chair. She worked tirelessly, reviewing cases, advocating for transparency, and ensuring that no complaint was ignored. Officer Torres and Chief Alvarez continued their partnership with Rowan, launching a mentorship program for young people interested in law enforcement and public service. Rowan mentored Tessa, the high school student who shadowed her in court and learned the intricacies of justice from the inside out. But the work was never easy. Rowan faced setbacks, cases that ended in disappointment, moments when old prejudices resurfaced. She sometimes questioned whether real change was possible, but each time, she found strength in the community she'd helped build. She saw it in the eyes of children who now dreamed of becoming judges, in the gratitude of families who found justice, and in the respect of officers who had once doubted her. One evening, as Rowan walked home from the courthouse, she paused at the mural painted in her honor. It showed her standing tall, gavel in hand, surrounded by people of every background. Someone had added a new detail, a small, hopeful child reaching up to touch her hand. Rowan smiled, tears stinging her eyes. She knew the work would never be finished, but she also knew she was no longer alone. Years passed, and Ashland's transformation became a model for other cities. Rowan's courtroom remained a place of fairness and hope. She continued to greet everyone with respect, her presence a reminder that dignity could not be taken by force. The police department, once a symbol of fear, was now known for its transparency and service. Tessa graduated high school and earned a scholarship to study law. On her last day in Ashland, she visited Rowan's chambers. "You showed me what justice looks like," she said. Rowan hugged her, pride shining in her eyes. "Now go show the world what it can be." Officer Torres, now a captain, led the department's community outreach. She and Rowan often spoke together at conferences, sharing their story of courage, failure, and redemption. Their friendship, once forged in silence and shame, became a beacon for others seeking to bridge divides. Rowan's family thrived. David opened a small bakery, and her mother started a support group for families affected by police violence. The city's Unity Festival became an annual tradition, drawing visitors from across the state. Each year, Rowan gave a speech, her words inspiring new generations to believe in justice. But Rowan never forgot the day she was slapped in the courthouse lobby. The memory lingered, not as a wound, but as a lesson. She knew that power could corrupt, but it could also heal. She knew that silence could be broken, and that even the smallest act of courage could change the world. One evening, as the sun set over Ashland, Rowan stood on the courthouse steps, watching children play on the lawn. She felt a deep sense of peace. She had faced humiliation and fear, but she had answered with dignity and resolve. She had seen an empire of silence crumble, replaced by a community built on trust and hope. As she turned to leave, a stranger approached. A young woman, nervous but determined. "Judge Pierce," she said, "I want to thank you. You made me believe I could be more than what others see." Rowan smiled, her heart full. "You already are." And so, the story of the judge who was slapped but never silenced became a legend in Ashland, a story of transformation, moral justice, and the hidden struggles of everyday people. It was a reminder that justice is not just a verdict, but a way of living, a promise to see and honor the humanity in us all.